Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip as the Winnipeg Jets make it 3 straight with a 5-2 win over the Philadelphia Flyers. What I might call the most convincing win that the Winnipeg Jets played. The most boring win maybe, and that's not a bad thing for where this team's at health-wise and what they're dealing with. Mikey, we got a bit of a live show as I got the Jays game in the background, so I'm going to be multitasking even more than normal here. I just came back from the local watering hole watching with some buddies I grew up playing hockey with. How are you doing tonight, Mikey?
That was, maybe not the most exciting game of hockey that you'll ever see in your life. That's maybe not the one you want to show people if you're trying to get them to watch a hockey game. But the Jets played a really good road game today. They went out there, they executed, they got 2 more points. Hellebuck looked like he was in good form. So overall, I'm feeling okay. No major injuries walking away from this one. Mark Scheifele gets himself into the Jets record book atop of a nice one that we'll talk about here. So yeah, overall, I can't say I'm too upset about anything that went on tonight. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that record came pretty quick, eh?
Yeah.
Like I knew he was gonna get there this year, but what a start for Mark Scheifele. I'm gonna probably bring up is he gonna get on the Olympic team question because I know that was going around the table tonight. We'll talk about that in the second half of the show. Let's start off where we always start off with. I'm going to ask you first before diving into the chat, as I see we've gotten some comments already. What was your big takeaway leaving this game from the Winnipeg Jets and the Philadelphia Flyers?
For me, coming out of this game tonight, it was just nice to see that the Jets system is still completely in place. The system that Scott Arniel and Davis Payne and Dean Chenoweth have put together, it was in full display tonight out on the road. You know, you don't have the advantage of the matchups. You don't have the advantage of the short change. You just, it's that typical thing. But it didn't matter that it was, Ford and Kepke on the fourth line and, Pearson up on the second line. The system held. They were able to keep it all together and just grind out another win tonight. So for me, yeah, on a night where, again, it wasn't the flashiest game. It wasn't high-flying, tic-tac-toe passing. And it didn't really matter who the faces kind of were out there. The system held for the most part. So that's kind of what I was at tonight.
I like that. I was going to go in a similar direction as well. I'll start off with Choices TK over on Twitch. As usual, another game where the Jets take advantage of a team that will finish in the bottom of the standings, capitalize on the Flyers' mistakes, but also lucky to be playing a team that couldn't do the same. Flyers had some good chances, but between good goaltending and poor finishing, Jets get the win. Jets kill all Flyers' hope in the third period. No shots either team in the first 8 minutes and 30 seconds. And then that power play goal ending any hope. He says broken record, goaltending, depth, scoring, special teams, survive bank points, move on. Scoring goals, but the shooting percentage is not sustainable. And yeah, not many shots on goal for either team this year. I think one thing he pointed out that I wanted to get to, that is the type of third period we've come to expect from this team the last couple years. Only 5 shot attempts from the Philadelphia Flyers when they're down 2 goals entering the third. And I thought the Jets did a really good job. I tweeted this out with a link to the show, that the Jets kind of implemented the keep it simple, stupid method today. And I thought they did a very good job sticking to their system, keeping this game stupid. Yeah, there was a couple quality looks from Philly. I think of 2 connecting ones, both on power play that Hellebuyck makes some big saves. There was the letdown early between Shen and Pionk on a mixed change that they get a look and Hellebuyck makes 2 pad saves on the corner. Other than that, I thought the Jets played a really good defensive game and opportunistic, take advantage of their looks. Kyle Connor sets up 2 with really good cross zone seam passes, one to Morgan Barron, who literally scores off a guy's ass. I know we joke about that kind of thing, but we saw it today. And Morgan Barron goes 4 games for 4, keeping up and having big moments within those games. And then that cross-ice seam to Mark Scheifele for that second Mark Scheifele goal, the one-timer. The Mark Scheifele first goal coming from a Gabe Vilardi cross-seam pass. Really good to see from the Jets' big guns when they need them, but also some of their depth. I thought that triple N line was a bit of a nice find for them in this one. And they were used as their second line, which I think the coaching staff was all over with how good that line looked today. They get on the board first after a couple of shifts where Nemeskov was kind of set up for good looks. I thought this was one of Gustav Nyquist's better games in the early season here.
Yep.
I know I wasn't a big fan of his training camp, but the last 2 games, I think we've seen a little bit more there, and I liked what we saw from that triple N line. So some good takeaways from the Winnipeg Jets as they make it 3 in a row from Philly. We got a question over on YouTube. Bodie Clegg says, no more Squirtle when we win, or was that only for the playoffs? Yeah, we got to figure something out there. It might be time for maybe a new tradition. Maybe we keep doing Squirtle. We'll leave it to you. Let us know in the comments what you want to see there. Maybe we'll get something new going for this new year and a different team. We'll figure that out as we go. Slick McGee, our guy across the pond, says, really like the fourth line. So much buzz. It's just happy to see them do what they need to do as a team at this point in the season. Let's start with that fourth line. They get a new addition to the lineup, Parker Ford. What did you think of the fourth line from the Winnipeg Jets in this game? Parker Ford, Morgan Barron, and Cole Koepke.
I thought Parker Ford fit right in onto that fourth line. We've talked about it a lot last year. The Jets have a ton of guys that they can swap through when it comes to that fourth line. They've got a plethora of NHL players that can really fit the system that they're trying to run, what they want to utilize that fourth line for, relief after a special teams, those type of things. So I thought Parker Ford looked fine. I thought he fit right into that line and what they were trying to do. They were all over the ice. Morgan Barron again with another another point. The guy he's just scoring absolutely at an incredible rate right now. It's hilarious, and he meant to do that. I 10 times out of 10, I'm telling you, he meant to score it off of the off that guy's ass. So it was great to see. Yeah, I thought Ford was fine there. I don't know if long term I want Tanner Pearson staying up on the second line. That's not so if Parker Ford is the one who's got to come out for that, so be it. But yeah, outside of that, I thought that fourth line was good tonight.
Yeah, I thought Parker Ford fit right in with that identity of that fourth line is, and just kind of go to work, get the lunch pails going. And he factors into that goal. Like maybe Morgan Barron was trying to bank it off Parker Ford's ass for Parker Ford's first game
right.
in his debut game of the season. I think Barron was sniping for one of them, and he catches the defender there. But I thought that line was buzzing. They also saw a bit more minutes than you're used to the Jets' fourth line seeing.
Yeah.
7-18 between the three of them. And that goal comes with a split shift with Kyle Connor, so they're out there even more than that. They win the shot attempts battle 5-3. They get you on the board. That's what you want to see from a fourth line. Go out there and win your minutes a bit, have a bit of an identity, and if they can chip in here and there, even better. I think that was a good start for the new look fourth line here. I wonder what it means. I wonder if we're going to see, I wonder if we're seeing a bit of an audition here, but outside the top line, we know that the bottom nine hasn't been great. They got involved in that last game, but it hasn't been too hot, especially in the middle six. I wonder if we're going to see a bit of a run here for the next few games with this new look lineup.
Yeah, I'm real curious to see how the usage goes from here, because I still don't think Chibrikov, did anything egregious to say that he shouldn't be getting games in. But we know the Jets like to, go on a bit of a run when they have a lineup that's picking up wins. And, they may see value in having him watch from up there. I again would much rather see Chibrikov getting the games in, getting those reps in now early in the season, as opposed to Tanner Pearson. But it'll be interesting to see how the usage goes forward here.
Yeah, I think, let's talk about that a little bit. First, I'm going to go over to the chat because we were talking about the fourth line. Dante Violet says fourth line was buzzing. Over on Twitch, HH Living Loco says Barron's proving shooters shoot, Yep. Also says the universe where there's enough depth from a big deal to have a fourth line of Barron, Taves, Foul where someone could be tasty. We'll talk about that later as we get more healthy potentially. Bodie Clegg says Morgan Barron is the equivalent to Andres Jimenez if we want to join the Jays and the Jets talk. Playing unreal to start the season with 4 goals for Barron and 2 homers in 2 games for Jimenez.
Excellent.
We're talking about depth guys that have gotten hot by the sounds of it with Bodie's comparison here. I know Jimenez has got me going at the bar tonight. It just gets over. Slick McGee says on the willingness to try new lineups. Nice to see a willingness to try things. I think now that Arnie has his first season under his belt, that he'll be more open to a little change this year. And I do think a couple things indicate some different looks from the staff this year. Comrie getting into game 3 of the year, I think, was a bit of a tell. Even after 2 wins, seeing some dramatic line changes throughout was a little tell that we're going to see a little bit of different things here while they're missing guys like Perfetti and Lowry and Sandberg. I think once the full lineup's back, you'll see a really probably stiff and
a return to normalcy.
Yeah, but I think right now he's got a bit of an excuse to try different things.
Yep.
Like the look of the triple N line, like the fourth line. Second line's been a bit of a struggle. I don't think this was Johnny Taves' best night. Takes 2 penalties in this one.
The goon Johnny Taves. He was out there gooning it up tonight. No Lady Bing for him.
Made sure to let the refs know after both of them. But I felt like watching it, it was one of those nights where he was just a little behind the play, which kind of suckered him into those situations. That second line or today was used as the third line. So I think that was good on the coaching staff
Yeah,
to
agreed.
run the hotter triple N line for more minutes. That second line, I think, is going to continue to, or let's call it the Johnny Taves line, is going to continue to be a bit of a work in progress as we
Yep.
learn what he really is at this point of his career, but also some of those wingers, like what Tanner Pearson is. I think Pearson's had a better start to this year than what he looked like in camp.
Yep.
I do think it indicates a little bit that you still see those tendencies to want to get that vet up there over a guy like Chibrikov as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So you wonder about that a little bit. But we're still learning about that group a little bit. Wasn't Taves' best night, wasn't that second line's best night. But I thought the first line had their looks. They get on the board. The triple N line gets on the board, and I thought they had some real quality zone time, and they were really getting to that net and kind of forcing things. Really liked what that group looked like, to be honest with you. And then that fourth line had that identity to it, and they get on the board as well. I think that's good for where the Jets are at this point in the season.
Yeah, you can tell they've really just taken the idea of forechecking in waves that we saw a lot of last season right back into this year. This was a game of just, they started it off. You could see in that first period that third line, second line, however you want to call them, was just the forecheck, that the Mestikov line was just, the forecheck was just coming at them in wave after wave. So it was nice to see that. I saw somebody online refer to them as the line of nations, which I thought was pretty good. I liked that. But triple N line, however we want to call them, it's that I thought this was easily their best night. Let's talk about Nino Niederreiter just for half of a second. Coming into, he's had a few good games here now in a row, starting to stack them together, and we know he's a streaky player. That when he gets on a roll, that's you'll see it for a nice chunk at a time. So hopefully that's what we're going to get right now to help fill in for the middle six guys that are still out, and it's nice to see.
Yes, it is nice to see. I think Vlad's had a tougher start to the year, and then he gets a couple looks off of Gustav Nyquist and Nino today, is able to bury one, so you want to see that maybe get him going. And the whole thing, we know they're missing three of their best defensive players. They put up still a very quality game defensively, probably their best defensive game of the season.
Yep.
Have the Flyers getting booed off the ice in the city of brotherly love.
Brutal.
Though
I love Philly fans.
I honestly, same. I admire Philly fans,
I respect
man.
it.
So do I. And I think they're going to have a lot of those nights watching that team this year. And maybe hiring a coach that wants to suck more offense out of that team when they're already limited there.
God.
Maybe wasn't the best idea. We'll see where that goes. But our chat all goes somewhere over on YouTube that I wanted to go.
Just before we
year.
On what you just touched on there real fast about the D, can I call out one of the Jets defensemen just real quick?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Goddamn Neil Pionk, I put you on my fantasy team. You've got no points in 4 games. What the fuck is he doing? What happened to Mr. All the points last year, games in a row, all of this? I told you. I said it. He gets paid, and then it's over. Contract year, Neil. God damn it. And I fell for it. I fell for it this year. That's all. Thank you. That's my rant.
A very tough pinch on his behalf that leads to the Owen Tippett goal too, the 2-on-1 against Stan where Tippett rips it. I want to use this point though to parlay into Owen Tippett. Interesting report came out yesterday. Hulk from our Twitch chat, I don't think he's here tonight, sent it to me in a Discord where I think it was the 4th period, is reporting that Tippett might not be a Rick Tocchet type player. And
a good player, got it.
Yeah. And there's some questions around his future in Philly. I thought today was an interesting game to kind of watch him because I'd seen that report yesterday thanks to Hulk, and I'm like, okay, I want to see what Owen Tippett's looking like this year. A guy that's scored in the past, like this is a 20 to 30 goal scorer. He hasn't hit 30 yet, but he's hit 28. Can skate right-handed, and if you look at the old contract. He signed for 6.2 for the next 5 years. Ooh. 26 years old. Kind of fits the mold of what Winnipeg could use in their middle 6 with Ehlers walking out the door and needing a bit more shooting talent, I think. Scores a nice one on Hellebuck on that 2-on-1. What'd you think of Owen Tippett, who apparently might be had. And I already see a debate in the YouTube chat I'm going to go to here with Scarborough 21 and a couple others. What do you think of Owen Tippett as somebody to watch here?
That would be, he fits the Jets MO quite well. He's going to give you that speed. He's signed at a price that's going to work real well for them for a good amount of years. He brings you the speed. He brings you the scoring. Yeah, if you can, though, the issue is always going to be what's the cost to acquire, right? Because if we're taking away from the roster, it depends in what form and where that's coming from. So I'd be real hesitant because I'd need to really see what that cost to acquire is going to come out to be. But if there is a way that you can get him out of there at a bit of a discount because of the situation being potentially untenable with Rick Tocchet, I'd be all over that. I'd be working those phones real hard to see if you can find value in a return there, because as a player and as a contract, that works really, really well for what the Jets need.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Just when you look at some of the things the Jets could kind of use from their offensive group, let's
and thanks to Harjavin Pirana, this is the last year with no trade protection.
Without it, right?
Yeah,
correct.
So you still have a shot at that before the player starts to get say in that.
I gotta say before I get into the chat, because there's a lot of takes on Owen Tippett. Mad Max just getting a K to end the fifth and yelling, "Let's fucking go!" We're getting a 41-year-old legacy start from Mad Max on the way out. This might be his last start in the MLB. That legend
going out on
Love
top.
to see it. So our chat. Harjivan Parwana says, if you could buy low on Owen Tippett for futures, yes, please. That would be an ideal situation in my mind as well.
If you can do it for futures and take nothing off nothing big off the main roster, I'd make that deal in a heartbeat.
Frosty Winnipeg says, love Tippett. Dante Violet says, Tipper is going to be spendy to acquire, but yes, please. Bodie Clegg says, what would the return be for Tippett? Has to be at least a first and a really good prospect. No. I'd be curious to see what the Flyers are looking for. I'm curious what direction they think they are in at this time. Scarborough says, 21 says, Winnipeg doesn't need any forwards. The ad should be a top four left-handed shot or right-handed shot. D doesn't matter. This is where I would disagree a little bit. I think Winnipeg needs two things. And one is a second-line goal scorer to fill in at the top of the lineup. Yep. And I do think they need a right shot top four that would play with Morrissey and bump down DeMello, because Sandberg Pionk works. The left side is one of the best in the NHL with Morrissey and Sandberg, so I do think you should be prioritizing the right side. But I do think this team could still really use a scorer when we get down to it, and that's where I think the Tippett fit's really interesting, because he does come with some term. He doesn't have trade protection, and there seems to be some frustration with the player in the market. So something to just keep in the back of your head here, where Choices TK says, this is Chevy. Really think he will make a deal like that? Hey, with some term attached, I could see it. We'll see. We'll see.
It's just something to keep an eye on. If it's not that specific player, it's those type of situations, right? That's exactly what you should be looking for. A guy who's maybe not happy with his situation, a team that wants to get out from under it, and you can maybe get it at a more reasonable price before the no trade protection kicks in, and you've got that ability. So definitely one to keep an eye on. He fits that scoring need real well, and would give the Jets the punch they're going to need come playoff time up top.
Yeah, so we'll see. I just found that to be an interesting player floated that has term, that's in the prime age that this team could kind of use the guy, and that does have some offensive punch and some speed. I think him beside a Perfetti and Taves would be really interesting behind that top line, especially when you look at the depth of this team after that, where I do think the bottom six will be a bit of a strength when you factor in what gets bumped down there. I found that to be an interesting watch, given that bit of a report before the game there.
Absolutely. Ken Tarrant over on Facebook, thanks for stopping in, Ken, says that would certainly be a step in the right direction. It would fit really well. Yeah,
so this team's off to a good start. We talked about needing to be 500 by the time the injuries are back. They're winning the games they need to be against teams we don't expect to be in it as the season goes on. And I think they just put together their most complete game of the year. Should we move into the From Financial Face-Off, where we want to hear from the chat? What did you think was the difference in this game? Could be a part of the system, could be a specific play, could be the lineup changes. What was the big thing that led to the Winnipeg Jets beating the Philadelphia Flyers 5-2 on this night? Let us know in the chat. We're going to get to ours, and then we're going to dive in, see what you all had to think about in this one. Mikey, let's move into the From Financial Face-Off on this night.
Let's hit it. Right on.
Right on it is right. And Mikey, we're going to start with you. What's your From Financial Face-Off on this night?
I'm gonna go with the Patchwork D. You know, it's a depleted group. It's a group that has not played a whole lot in these current pairings outside of the top pairing, and they're able to hold it together for the most part right now. Yes, it's against a team that's not going to be one of the juggernauts of the NHL, but again, it's a road game. You're not at home. And this is not the best looking, six defensemen that the Jets have ever put out there. But they're kind of keeping it together. The system is holding. They're playing okay. They're playing off of each other fairly well. And if they can, keep doing that until, Dylan Sandberg is back and healthy, and we can kind of even out the pairings a little bit more right there. Like you said, they just need to stay kind of 500 until everybody's back. And at this rate, they may even, come in nice and ahead of that. So, the depleted D gets my From Financial Face-Off tonight.
Okay, I'm going to go around the chat for a little. I'm going to leave one until a bit later because it's going to transition to my next point as a bit of a hint. Over on YouTube to start, Scarbrow21 says, From Financial Face-Off, team identity, Winnipeg has one, Philly doesn't. And I think that is exactly the type of direction I wanted to go. I know you just went there too with the system holding. Winnipeg, ever since Bonus and Arniel came into town, have really developed and built a system that gives them an identity. And I thought that identity was on full display. As boring as this game was, I thought it was all about Winnipeg playing to their strengths and really controlling this game and then shutting it down completely in the third period, holding Philly to 5 shot attempts altogether in a game they're chasing. I thought that point from Scarbrow21 was exactly where I wanted to go. Maddie Wynn says the From Financial Face-Off is Mark Scheifele's game was on point tonight. Cheers, boys. Cheers to Maddie as well, all the way out on the East Coast.
Cheers.
Good to see you live for a game. Always checks in with us the day after games normally. Love to hear from you. Caitlin says, from Financial Face-Off, Rick Tocchet is a god-awful coach. And it's going to be interesting in the city of brotherly love when they give a local legend a 5-year contract and things start going backwards. Really interesting reputation for Rick Tocchet compared to what he's actually been able to do in the NHL. We'll leave it at that.
Harrison over on Twitch, his From Financial Face-Off. Tocchet turned a fast, exciting young team into a back-off, zero-pressure hot mess, and Jets made an absolute meal of that.
Yeah, I like going to the Tocchet. Well, Choices TK says From Financial Face-Off is getting the lead. This team is just hard to beat when they get the lead and teams are chasing the game. And we've seen that this team is able to just grind you down and really control games when they don't have to chase themselves. Fat Tony 202 brings a point to the From Financial Face-Off segment saying Jets have been leaky with the rush defense because they have wanted to be aggressive on the forecheck. But the slow D men are so scared of speed, the gap is terrible. In the third, the Jets weren't aggressive and kept the forwards in the neutral zone to kill the counter. And I actually think exactly what he describes here is exactly what you see happen on the Neil Pionk pinch that ends up bouncing to the middle of the ice.
Yep.
And Owen Tippett, who we just talked about, ends up going 2-on-1 with 22 on Philly. Can't remember his name right now. Against Logan Stanley and gets that goal. I think that's exactly a moment that stands out to me talking about and pairing with a moment within the game that costs the Jets. Fat Tony 202's point. There was one of the home games this year. I took my brother Jared and we were talking about when they had gone the lead. They had gone to a bit of a 1-2-2 in the neutral zone. I do wonder if this is something we're going to see more when they get the lead, especially in their current situation, missing arguably three of their best
Defensive players.
defensive players. Yeah, sometimes you just got to keep it simple, stupid, and I thought the Jets really did that well on this night to get the 5-2 victory over Philadelphia.
Yeah, 100%. It's they're doing what they have to right now. They know that the reinforcements are coming. Just the internal guys, not even worried about trades or whatever else. It's just, hey, we know that we've got these guys coming back. It's going to change things when they do. We just got to hold it down till then. And so far, so good.
Okay, let's go to a question here. It was being talked about at the bar tonight as well. Dante Violet says the From Financial Face-Off, Mark Scheifele, God Mode activation. Mark Scheifele now up to, what is it, 8 points in 4 games?
Yep.
I believe. 4 of those goals?
4 of them goals.
Does Mark Scheifele, is this a year he cracks Team Canada? Is Mark Scheifele an Olympian this year? What is your take, Mikey?
Well, for anybody that's been playing the home game version of watching the landing strip, you'll know that in my hot takes, I said Mark Scheifele is going to crack that 100-point mark this year, and Mark Scheifele is going to be an Olympian. He's going to make his way onto that team. Scheifele and Connor together are they're the offense, at least what we thought, coming in to start the year. They're going to be getting ice time at 5-on-5 on the power play and on the penalty kill and, getting some shorthanded points. So I think, they're racking it up. Scheifele has absolutely just come out scorching hot. And right now, he's playing himself onto that Olympic team.
Quickly here, Kyle Korsvelt over on YouTube says, talk about timing. From Financial Face-Off is Scheifele's motivation for Team Canada. So if you're familiar with the landing strip, if you've been here since the start, I was definitely on the not Mark Scheifele making the foreign nations team. And part of that was, and then we saw it late into the selection, he was playing hurt. And I thought that really hurt his chances because it became really obvious that he was playing hurt. But at that time, I thought the first line was struggling at 5-on-5, and Mark Scheifele was kind of piling up the points on the power play to start last year. And I didn't think that the Team Canada brass would kind of take a power play player for depth. There's just too much talent in Team Canada. I think with Mark Scheifele's start to this year, just how much more important he's been to the total team success and how he looks. I do think this is the year he sneaks onto that roster. I do wonder what Team Canada does with some of those spots. Like, I envision at least one, if not both, of Celebrini and Bedard going there as extras at worst to be around it for the next Olympics kind of thing. So I do wonder about that side of things. But I think with what we've seen from Mark Scheifele to start, he's got to be on that Team Canada conversation. I got him slightly in, and I've never had Mark Scheifele on a Team Canada roster. I think right now, if you ask me 4 games in, I think he's showing why he should be there.
Yep, absolutely. And come on, he's not going to let Connor go and not also go. They don't get to play together, but he's going to be on the ice with him at some point. So, he's going to do everything he can to make it.
A couple takes on that. HH Living Local says, Mark heard the talk about him not being an Elite 1C. My God, really hope he does it for him and his family. Talk about a big moment if he were to do so.
100%.
Fat Tony 202 goes the reverse, and part of my take last year was I wanted Mark Scheifele to get cut because I thought we'd see the best version of Mark Scheifele after, and I think that aged really well. I think I kind of nailed that one.
Chip on the shoulder.
So Fat Tony 202 is going the opposite way with it, and I do agree with him on this as well. If Scheifele makes Team Canada in December, his games in January will be horrible to watch. He'll be making sure he doesn't get hurt to be healthy for the big tournament. And I could totally see that aging really well when it comes to Mark Scheifele and Team Canada.
Too funny. Yeah, it's a good point.
Harjivan Barwana says, worry about the defensive game and think that is the prime argument against. However, if he has stupid counting stats, it will be very hard for Hockey Canada to deny him. Plus, the Olympic roster is much larger than the Four Nations roster. And I think that's a good point to add to this as well, that they will be able to take more guys than what was eligible for Four Nations. Caitlin over on YouTube says he should. The only problem is how ridiculously deep Team Canada is at center, and he's never really played wing in the NHL. Only when he only when Bones was trying to get him and PLD to stop fighting over Kyle Connor. And
Jesus.
he decided it was a good idea to play right wing for a few games
Yep.
before the playoffs.
Yes, he did.
I do remember those games. Well, I run your 2-1-Cs when you could just put them on a line to prove a point.
Yep, that's why.
Not a good look for Shipe on that one. But that was years ago now.
Good times. That was, yeah.
Dante Violet points out Olympic roster has 2 extra skaters compared to 4 nations. And that is a good point as well.
Yep.
Pivoting out of Shifley, what was your first thoughts on seeing Tanner Pearson when we saw the lineup construction? Fleury jumps in to play with Shen. Pionk stays with Stanley. And then we see Tanner Pearson move up to play with Taves and Iafallo. And we see Parker Ford make his debut. Chibrikov come out. Let's get your thoughts on all of that. I'll let you go to the buffet here.
I still don't quite get it for hockey reasons. It still doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. I don't subscribe to the school of they need to sit and watch games in the press box to learn. I think for the most part, young guys that are starting to get into the lineup will benefit the most from actually playing the game, from getting the reps, from being out there, from making the mistakes, because that's how they're going to be, told how to fix those things afterwards. So I don't think there was anything egregious enough from Chibrikov to say, hey, you need to sit for, a game or two to figure something out, to work on this. Here's a bunch of things we picked out, in the film that we, need to see improvement before we can let you back on the ice because you're hurting us out there. I didn't see any of that. So, there's politics always that goes into lineup decisions, I'm sure, right? You've got a veteran guy in Tanner Pearson that, they still want to make sure he's getting games in, and, so you move him up so that Parker Ford can come in. Nothing against having Parker Ford come in and play a game here and there as well. I don't think a guy like Chibrikov, who we're hoping to be a middle six NHL forward, we're hoping to be hopefully a second line center at the highest, or not center, pardon me, winger, third line winger at the lowest. That's what you want out of him. So I think those are the reps he needs to get. And to have him sitting already at game 4, unless we find out later it's injury or whatever, which I don't think it is. They said healthy scratch. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for me when you're early in the season. This is when you want to find out what you're going to have in Nikita Chibrikov, come April.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the Chibrikov stuff because I had said last game he hadn't stood out enough for me to really be hammering home that I want him in the lineup. The big thing is, in his opportunity, he's going to have to really knock himself off the page to stay in the Jets lineup, and I personally haven't seen that. And I'm at the point, especially early on in this year, where the middle six has been such a struggle that I'm open to seeing anything. And I think we saw a good combination on this night in the triple N line. I think the Taves line still had its problems, and we'll see where that continues to go. I think the coaching staff adequately noticed that the triple N line was better and saw them and adjusted and played them more minutes as well. The one thing I obviously do worry about in the back of my head is how quickly the trigger was pulled.
Yep.
And who it was to prioritize because of this team's history in that regard. So I do have some concerns. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
But Tanner Pearson also has had a good start here, and that Taves line has been largely ineffective at 5-on-5, that I'm open to seeing anything. I want to see what this rotation kind of looks like when it comes to guys like Ford and Chibrikov, when we haven't seen this team keep guys that weren't waiver exempt often. So I want to see how that kind of goes here. And then I want to talk about on defense quickly, actually, because this is something I thought before this game. I think this is a game where the D-Corps can handle the Philadelphia Flyers and the north-south dump and chase game that they prefer to play when they don't have the high-end talent quite there yet. I do think with the current iteration and the fact that Colin Miller is penciled in as the number 7 and there's a 6 preferred ahead of him, I do think this bottom 4 stylistically um, makes more sense than the Fleury, Pionk, Stanley, Shen one. Like my thing with the Fleury Pionk one is they both are so chaotic in when they make jumps and make bad reads or kind of get caught between their own head that you see how chaotic that gets, and that pair just has struggled so much in that role. And then I look at Stanley and Shen and see two very flawed, slower guys. You catch one of them, you're probably catching both of them. And I don't think those two just work in that sense where despite Stan's struggles, I think he's more maybe sound. You know what to expect more from him than Hayden Fleury. And I think when you're Neil Pionk, I think you need that more given Neil Pionk's own game at its peaks and its lows. And then Fleury adds some skating ability next to a Luke Shen that can't skate. And we did see across the board all three pairs finish on the right side of the metrics and the shot attempts today for the first time this year. We'll see. I think that bottom 4 is still going to really struggle as they play better teams on this calendar. But on a night like today, I think that makes more sense with the 6 they're choosing. And a team like the Flyers, they're able to get through pretty easily on a night like this.
Yeah. So I've got one last thought on Chibrikov, and then I want to get to Ken on Facebook real quick. On the Chibrikov thing, I agree with you. He needs to really blow the doors off the barn to be able to keep a spot once bodies start coming back. He can't do that in the press box. There's no way whatsoever for him to do that up top. So and like you said, for who gets prioritized and how quickly, I didn't think it was the right move this early on. And then Ken over on Facebook says, let's remember, though, this current lineup tonight beat the Flyers. I would say that all bets would be off with this current lineup beating any of the top 10 teams. It's without a doubt that the Jets need another starting top 4 defenseman and definitely a second-line player that can add some offensive punch. Gotta wake up. The current defensive 6 will not stand up. And he says Tanner is certainly not a second-liner.
I think those are all like right on point for Ken when we're looking at the bigger picture and where this season goes into the second half, past the trade deadline, into the playoffs. Completely agree across the board. I'm having trouble early on this season when they're missing Perfetti, Sandberg, and Lowry, who all have 3 really big roles in how this is built. I won't have any big hot takes or big takeaways until we get to the point where those guys are healthy and we really see what this starts to look like. For me, it's all about piling up points in the early half of this season, the first 15, 20 games, whatever this injury stretch is, and then we put the pedal down and really hold them to a higher standard. I just think those 3 guys are so key to what this team's built around doing that, hey, as long as you survive until those guys are healthy, my eyes are wide open here on what this could kind of be. But you're 100% right on the takeaways of what this team does need to strive to bring in to help this thing come playoff time. Those pieces are definitely necessary if this team wants to take a run. I just don't think we'll see that kind of stuff until the second half, and I don't think we'll see the Winnipeg Jets at their best until mid-December, early January, when you get those guys that are so strong defensively back into this thing and bump guys down another peg or 2 into this lineup. But I think that's a great take from Ken over on Facebook.
Totally agree. Right now, you've got a bunch of guys who are having to play a station above what they're normally at, and you want the opposite, right? You want guys playing in roles that they're better at. You want a third liner who is actually a second liner on most other teams, right? You want to win those matchups, and right now, you've got guys holding their own and keeping their head above water in those spots that they're in. But long term, it's there's a reason why they're depth guys, right? It's because they can't sustain that for an entire year. So yeah, they're doing a great job of banking those points right now. And like you said, it'll be probably early January before we see this team kind of at full power and what it can do.
Dante Violet says, do you think that this org just keeps this defense to continue unabated until Sando comes back without making a move.
Yes.
I think the longer they win and keep themselves above water, the less a move becomes prioritized and needs to be rushed into, which does have its pros as well when you're looking at the cap and what you can do later into the season. So I think as long as this team holds themselves above water, it lessens the pressure to need to go out and make a move at this moment. If they started to go on a slide, I think it kind of does the reverse and ups the pressure to keep them in that spot. And with a 3-1 start, I just don't think that that's prioritized at this moment in time.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see them get desperate for any type of move until they fall out of a playoff spot. So as long as they're, banking points right now and they're competitive and they're winning games like this, yeah, I think they keep it rolling until Sandberg comes back, and then they start to assess once the quote-unquote trade deadline season kicks off.
Guido Valenti from I'm a Flyers fan, and a lot of Philly fans and media don't like him because he misses too many opportunities. At least he's got speed and size. Me, I keep Tippett, but he will be traded. Thanks for joining the show. Nice to hear some perspective from the Phillies side. I saw a guy today that I thought had some really good size and some really good speed to his game.
Yep.
He's a right-handed shot. Those are all things that the Jets could really use. And I think there's a 30-goal guy there if you straighten. Like, there was a couple of goofy decisions on his behalf that I could see people getting frustrated with. But this is a guy that should be a 25 goal scorer year in, year out that could touch 30. I would love to add a guy like this to the middle six, the second line of the Winnipeg Jets. And I'm glad to hear that there's some Flyers fans that have watched them that kind of see the same.
And I'm going to go to bat for my, I'm assuming fellow Italian here, Guido Valenti. So look at that. If Tippett comes over and becomes a Winnipeg Jet, you can come over too. We'll happily take you in, and you can join the Jets family.
T. Kona Pauly, the mayor of Transcona,
the mayor is
back
here
in the chat, and he asked the question we've all been wondering: where the hell has T. Kona been? Where the hell have you been, T. Kona?
Welcome back,
We've been
Pauly.
missing you over on the post game show. I also see Phyllis has joined the chat. Says, "Hey, Nick and Mikey. Good game by the boys tonight. I'll rewind and listen to your full show a bit later. Was away until now. Appreciate you checking it out and being here. Phyllis, as usual,
hey,
definitely
Phyllis.
A quality game. I thought this was the most well-rounded win from the early season Winnipeg Jets. They kept it simple. They controlled the game at 5-on-5.
Yep.
They controlled the specialty teams. They did what they needed to do on this night. They got contributions from multiple spots in the lineup, and they played solid D. That's a well-earned third win of the season for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, we talked about how we thought they were going to have to completely rely on the top line, and the depth was just going to have to hold on. But last couple games, they've been showing that, hey, the depth is here to contribute to a little bit and chip in while we weather the storm.
T. Kona Pauly says, if I'm not live, I'm lurking. LOL.
Excellent.
And I'm surprised with his loud vocals, he's able to just sit and lurk without saying something, though. I don't know if I believe him right now. Vladdy! Let's go. This man is putting up a postseason, man. Talk about franchise player. The $500 million man.
God, that statue's going to look good outside the Rogers Center. I can't wait.
Vladimir Guerrero goes deep again.
Dale, Vladdy, dale.
Coming into tonight, he was the 7th highest OPS in the postseason. And he was like first in a ton of offensive categories. Just does it again. Let's go. Whew. Momentum's a funny thing in October, man. Momentum's a funny thing in October.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm fired up. Sorry, back to the hockey podcast. Let's see. I guess Frosty has a comment here on a question here on a big topic of the day. What is your thoughts on the Carter Hart signing in Vegas?
How controversial do I get to be?
Yeah, I know, right?
You ever seen that clip of Vince McMahon from Monday Night Raw, 15, 20 years ago? Come on out, you rapist. Yeah, that's what they should play at Hart's first game. No, I don't know, man. I'm quite surprised that they went that quickly to hopping straight into, all right, we got him signed. Everything's great. Yay, let's do this. So, yeah, I was pretty surprised that they did that so quick.
I think Tico Napoli nails my thoughts, and I'm going to leave it at that. Hart will fit right in with Vegas. We'll leave it at that tonight. Dante Violet says no more Vladdy slander for all time.
Correct.
He's easily going to make people forget about how much he makes just from this run. It's great to see.
Worth every penny.
Mikey, I'll let you pronounce our Italian guy from Montreal here.
Guido Valenti.
Guido Valenti says Jets are a good team. They're big and fast. By the way, guys, I'm from Montreal. Good show. Let's go, Jays.
Hey,
appreciate you jumping in to check out this show. It's actually funny. Mikey here, the co-host, is also a big Montreal Habs guy.
Yep.
So something about the Italians in Montreal, it seems like, eh?
There's a lot of us there.
I do agree that the Jets are going to be a good team this year. They're just missing a little extra to go on that run that they've been looking for.
Yep.
We'll see what that trade season looks like. And I really do think the Jays are going to come all the way back and win this series.
It's feeling like it.
Seattle's a damn good team, and this thing could turn on a dime. But momentum's a funny thing, and those Jays bats are back in a big way.
Phyllis says, you'll all roll your eyes at me, but I actually have Carolina versus Anaheim game going, keeping an eye on Nicky. No rolling the eyes here. I'm glad that you're keeping an eye on our boy, Nicky.
I got to say, Phyllis, I tuned in the other night for Carolina versus San Jose with Michael Misa's debut in the late night game. That 5-2 or 5-1 win for Carolina. So yeah. I've been watching a little bit of that too before switching over to Anaheim.
Look,
and,
who doesn't, right after a breakup, who doesn't go and check their ex's stories? Come on, that's all that's happening here.
I tell people I was just watching Michael Misa's debut. It wasn't
that's
about
right.
Ehlers.
That's right. It's Michael Misa's.
I have some thoughts on Carolina.
Talk to me.
I got a good bet in today, though, from our boy Stressful, if he's around. He got a little high on Mason Appleton's 3 goals and was saying how he's going to outscore Ehlers. So I got Ehlers on a discount outscoring Mason Appleton this year. So that was exciting.
That might be the best bet you've ever made.
We've seen these Mason Appleton heaters to start years for how long here?
Yep. It's Lucy with the football.
I gotta say, tuning into Anaheim versus Pittsburgh at 11:30 p.m. on a weekday was maybe my lowest moment.
That's when you know you have a problem.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tough one. Anaheim might. I've been bugging Jordan. Jordan's an Anaheim guy. Like their giveaway this week, I might have to buy one of those duck masks.
Yeah, those are sweet.
But Anaheim with Quenneville there, another controversial figure. Might be around things a little quicker than I was projecting. I think they're a piece away, but Quenneville's got them playing some good hockey.
Yeah, it's a little bit ahead of where I would have guessed they'd be at by now.
Choices TK says, you mean first line Mason Appleton with injuries on
That's
that
right.
Detroit team? Mason Appleton's able to convince every coach he's the next man up. Lucas Raymond goes down with an injury, and we got the Mason Appleton promotion. And he pays McLennan off with 2 goals on the night. Hilarious. Now they're going to be stuck with that guy playing big minutes.
Hey, enjoy him.
It's not us anymore.
Yep.
It's not us anymore.
Yeah.
Harjivan Parwana wants to know, Mikey, needs your reaction to the Hudson deal.
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was surprised that Hudson, the player, took it, to be a little bit honest, with just how hyped and everything was going. The fact that he looked at it and went, this is a big fucking chunk of guaranteed money, structured in a really nice way. Fuck it, let's do it. So you've got a kid who's now guaranteed his $70 million. You have a team that is guaranteed their number 1 generational defenseman. It's going to be such a great value very, very quickly. The way the Habs game ended tonight alone is already paying for the deal that hasn't even started yet. So absolutely incredible. I was thrilled. I can't wait to go get at least 2 different Hudson jerseys now. This was, I was real pumped about it. Real happy.
Yeah, I saw that one. And I was a little surprised, but when you put that much guaranteed money in front of a kid with 1 year of service time, like how do you walk away from
do you
that?
not take
70
it?
million bucks guaranteed, 55 in signing bonuses.
Yep.
I think that's one where the team, it'll definitely age very well in this cap environment. Um, but he's no longer my favorite young D-man, and I have a bad history with
Here
Habs
we
fans,
go.
so I don't want to say too much too
Here we
quickly here.
go.
We're gonna start the Matthew Schaefer is twice the player Lane Hudson narrative and get Habs
Somebody
fans
got Nick
going.
the Haterade tonight. That's what was being served at Tavern. They were serving out the Haterade at Tavern. That's fine. Nick hasn't seen the ending of the Habs game tonight yet. Go watch
I
the
haven't
last
yet.
20 seconds of the Habs game and tell me who the best defenseman is. Whew, he's gonna win the Vezina. Never mind. After the save he made.
I'll say this: there's not often in the NHL where I'm applauding a team for giving their management extensions.
Yep.
But very well earned for the Gorton Hughes crew.
Yeah.
Over in.
They
in
came in with a
Montreal.
vision. They came in with a vision of what they wanted to do, and they've been working at it at a pretty decent pace. So I'm real happy.
And Tico Napoli wants us to bring up Jackson Lacombe, who also signed the big deal. One of those ones that there was sticker shock, obviously, for a lot of people.
Yep.
Not watching the West Coast games, but he was Anaheim's #1 D-man last year. And when it comes to defensemen on bad teams, the one thing that I do think analytics does a pretty good job of doing is if there's a good defenseman on a bad team, that's normally probably a good indicator. And he really put up a big year last year. He really took strides. This is one of the best transition defensemen in the NHL. Now he's playing on their #1 power play. I do think despite the sticker shock, that's another deal that'll probably age pretty damn well in the new environment for Anaheim.
Yep, I agree. The way that the cap is moving going forward, and if he stays at any type of progression pace that he's on right now, yeah, they'll be real happy about that one real quick. And it's Anaheim, right? You can be anonymous and a professional athlete there. That's kind of one of the perks that guys have talked about in the past. So yeah, like you said, it caught some people off guard, I think, because you don't tune into those late night games like that. But I don't think Anaheim's going to be regretting it at all.
I like how we're doing some around the league talk here.
Yeah.
First, I want to do a quick Jets throwback. Al Camino says if Fallow doesn't get hurt during his first camp, Appleton doesn't end up with Larry and end up with a game on his stick last year. Painful reminder from Al. Painful.
Don't butterfly affect me like this, man.
I do. Well, actually, we'll go a couple. Let's stick with the young defenseman. Harjivan Parwana says best young defenseman is Zane Parekh. Just give him 2 years to get acclimated. I'm biased with Calgary as my second team. And I was actually DMing Harjivan the other night about the Calgary Flames. I've tuned into 2 early season Calgary Flames games. I didn't think that was going to be on my bucket priority list.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, that might be the one Canadian team having the start that they absolutely need badly for that franchise. They need to pile up the losses this year. And they're doing it, but they're doing it kind of ethically, like they're in the hockey games. But Zane Parekh, I've been really impressed. I like that shout out for Parekh. He's looked the part in his rookie season here to start the year.
Yep, absolutely.
Caitlin asks, and I find this one interesting: is Kempe really worth $11 million? In which Tico Napoli says Kempe all day, maybe even 12 for Kempe. I'm curious your take on this one, Mikey, because I have a few different thoughts on this. I've been watching this one as it's been become a public negotiation now.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on Caitlin's side. I don't really know if I'd be the one dumping out $11 million for Kempe going forward. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to be sold on it. I haven't watched a ton of, but that's for me. I was like, I don't know if I would want to be the one that's going forward on that one. Although, what was the length on it?
Basically what had happened.
Shorter term, right? It was only.
No, he wants max term at 11 plus now. So basically what's happened here is his agent kind of smartly waited for like the Kyle Connor, Eichel, Kaprizov, McDavid crew to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do look to next year, Kempe does look like the best free agent. I don't think he's an $11 million player in a world where Kyle Connor just got 12. Right. He's finished 20 plus points behind him. I think he's a really good hockey player, very speedy. I thought he stood out in the Jets versus Kings game,
Yeah.
actually. He could score goals in bunches, but he just doesn't have the same resume a guy like Kyle Connor does to have only a $1 million gap.
Yep.
I'd want him closer to the $10 million range in that world. So I do find this one interesting, but I think what's happening publicly is really funny to me, and I think it's actually really obvious. Maybe I age out to be wrong on this, but it started with Jeff Merrick, but it's been a few of the insiders now starting to publicly talk about the idea that, oh, if the Kings don't sign him, Edmonton's waiting with this McDavid discount. And think about Kempe skating next to McDavid, one of the few guys that could keep up to him and actually bury the biscuit. And I think it's the most obvious agent trying to leverage LA situation I've seen in a while.
Oh, for sure.
Like, the one team that starts becoming public in October is the rival that's knocked you out of the playoffs, 4 years
4 years in a
straight?
row.
And your new GM just came from getting divorced from that program.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Smoke screen. Nothing to see.
Yeah, what my gut tells me is you're seeing the agent use his leverage as much as humanly possible
Yep.
to try and put the screws to LA. Now, maybe he does go to free agency and maybe he does sign with Edmonton. I just think for how public it's been, for the number he's asking, for the situation he finds himself in, you're seeing, I think, and it's the NHL, it's nothing happens league. Nothing big ever actually happens in this league. This isn't the NBA. I think you're just seeing a public leveraging of his current team, and at some point that they're going to cave, especially with guys like Kopitar walking out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, that number needs to come in way closer to 10 to really kind of make sense. It just, he's not in that Kyle Connor tier. He just isn't. It's great player, like you said, scores in bunches, but I don't want to be the one to give him 11 mil.
Caitlin also says, on the other hand, if you're paying Cody Ceci $4.5 million, Kempe should be worth Kaprizov money.
I mean, it's all about comparables.
I have to get this rant off my chest because I've thought about this all week. I've watched 2, I think, LA games now. Obviously the Jets won, and I tuned in for another one. I think it was Edmonton. Was it? Have they played each other? Can't remember who the other one was, but watching Cody Ceci and putting together the fact that Ken Holland has now given him 8 years of guaranteed contracts totaling $31 million in career earnings just from Ken Holland alone, blew my mind. Blew my absolute mind. Because when you watch him play hockey, you have to ask yourself how the same dude wants to keep getting bent over for 8 years from his own signings.
He's good in the room.
He can't play.
He works really hard. He's a great leader. He's
It is crazy, man, the amount of money that guy's parlayed into
some
his career.
GMs and some coaches just get so fixated on guys where you're like, I don't understand. How are you seeing something I am not seeing?
That is one of them. That is one of them all time. And I gotta say this: as much as we were looking for some D upgrades in Winnipeg, let's avoid what Detroit's trying to dump in Travis Hamonic and Eric Gustafsson at this point in their careers.
Yep.
Let's avoid those conversations.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's avoid those conversations. And I like this comparison from Al Camino, really putting this into perspective. We get frustrated with Logan Stanley, but Al Camino points out, holy shit, Chevy has only paid Stanley like $5 million. $31 million for Cody Ceci in the last 8 years, and he signed both of them.
I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, but let's T. Cotapoli says, did we touch on Appleton and his rocket winning pace?
We did. First line Mason Appleton. We did.
He's fooling someone else this time.
That's wonderful. Good for him.
Before we move into 3 stars, I want to touch on Scarborough 21's last point, and then we'll go into the 3 stars. So get your 3 stars into the chat. Scarborough 21 says, I'm all in for Owen Power or Rasmus Anderson. Anderson has a bit of control, and it seems like he's trying to guide himself to Vegas, so we'll see where that situation goes. I would sign up for him playing next to Josh Morrissey. Owen Power, despite being a lefty, is a very interesting bet to me. It sounds like his value soured league-wide, and I think like from what I've seen from him, you probably want better from where he was drafted. But I still think that there's a player there that's probably getting a little. I think people are a little too sour on because of where he was drafted at. That I do think the Jets could maybe get the most out of. It's a bit of a bet, but with the long-term cap and the fact he's just entering his prime, I do think that's a player that maybe they could fix in a sense. So I'd be in on that. I'd be in on either of those. Sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy with either one.
I think the biggest thing with Power that really bothers people too is he's got a bit of early years Dougie Hamilton to him, where he's a 6'6" guy, so everyone expects the big physical presence, but really he's more skilled with the puck and moving around the game. And I think when you have that perception, it really sours on you to see a big soft defenseman, but he still does things that I think are very useful. And at worst he's an offensive D-man like a Neil Pionk, but I think at his peak, if you got the best out of him, I think all of a sudden you have top three defenseman level guys in Samberg, Morrissey, and Power, and their ages are pretty scattered, where Power, if you're able to kind of get the most out of him, starts taking away those Morrissey regression years a little bit.
Yep.
I like this idea from Scarborough.
That would be
21 here.
that would be a look for the defense that you'd really be able, because then for the partners at that point, you can really start to get creative with how you work the pairings and things like that. So yeah, I love the idea.
Hey, and if we're pillaging Buffalo, I'm always in on Ryan McLeod, or I'll take Michael Kesserling beside Josh Morrissey as well.
That works too.
If we want to pillage the Sabres, I'm in.
Yep, let's go.
But hey, let's get into the 3 stars, and then watch the end of the Toronto Blue Jays potentially tying this series 2-2 as it's 8-2 in the top of the 8th here.
Beauty, let's do it. Right on.
Right on. Mikey, who do you got on this night? Who's
So,
your 3 stars?
like we talked about, it wasn't the most exciting high event game, and my 3 stars aren't going to be all that exciting either. So number 3 tonight, I'm just going to go with Morgan Barron. Continues to put up points on that 4th line, continues to help chip in where they need offense. Another interesting kind of setup for the goal. So Morgan Barron, number 3 tonight. Keep it going. Number 2 star, guy that hasn't gotten a ton of my praise to start the season, even though he absolutely deserves it and did again tonight. Connor Hellebuck, kept the Jets in it with some big saves. The Jets system works best when Hellebuck is on his game and putting up elite numbers. And I think tonight was just one of those steady Hellebuck games that lets the Jets go out and play theirs. And then number 1 star, Lane Hudson. Oh, sorry. He was great in that game. Goddamn. Mark Scheifele, of course. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch gets on top of the Jets points record books going forward for the franchise. What more could you say about Scheifele and the start to the year that he's had? So he's going to the Olympics. He's going to get 100 points, and he got my number 1 star tonight.
Over on YouTube, Phyllis is 3 stars. 3 Helly, 2 Barron, 1 Scheifele, T. Konopoulos, Pearson, Ford, Helly. Maddie Wynn says Scheif, Nino, Ford. I gotta say, I think 3 of you are being a little too generous to Connor Hellebuck. I think he made a couple big saves, but this was a defensive clinic. He will not be getting into my 3 stars on this night. That's actually going to be kind of 5 in a way, because my 3rd star, I'm actually going to give it to the 3N line. They're all going to share it.
Excellent.
I thought this was Gustav Nyquist's probably best game early on in this season with the Jets. I really liked what that group did and how much they were getting to the net. Vlad Mestikov ends up getting a pair of quality chances. Barry's one off that rebound with Nino jamming at the net. I really liked what that line looked like. The coaching staff saw them as their second best line. If you look at ice time, I thought they paid off the extra minutes. So I'm going to go with the third line or second line, the 3N line, as the 3rd star. I'm going to go Kyle Connor, number 2, with the 2 primary assists. I thought both were high-quality passes across the zone and through seams like that. They end up scoring 2 goals off of that. So I'm going to go Kyle Connor, number 2 star, and number 1, 2 more goals. We're on Olympic watch. Mark Scheifele will be the number 1 star, a pair of goals. Big start to the year from Mark Scheifele himself, and we're going to get out of here. We will see you in the chat on Saturday after the Winnipeg Jets play the Nashville Predators. Will they make it 4 straight? What will we have to talk about? I guess you'll have to tune in there. I hope you all have a great end to your weeks, and we'll see you Saturday.
Right on. Good night, everybody.